Right then, so what are we looking at again? I've got the word pad.
Alright, yeah. Yeah. So I'm addressing the how the timeline of RWBY has gone so far. I mean, we're not going to cover the whole thing because we'd have to go volume by volume and it'd take forever. But just where things are sort of mapped to a year and where we are currently as of volume 7, episode 5, which is the last episode we watched. Because in general, what I've seen a lot of especially since volume 6, is there's just a lot of confusion as to when things are happening. Like, especially,
I think one of the tricky things was that it looked like that with volumes 4 and 5, not all the storylines were happening at the same time.
Yeah, they weren't. That's the thing. Like, as we learned in volume 5, Blake's whole thing was about a month behind everyone else by the start, and by the end of it, it was 2 weeks behind.
Yep.
So it is a bit hard to track, and not knowing how long it had been since volume 3 was a bit confusing. Like, the original Word of God we got was 6 to 8 months, and then they kind of backtracked to 3 to 4 months, and then they just backtracked entirely and just said it was meant to be ambiguous.
Yeah. I always thought it was just like 6 months.
Yeah, it's something like 6 months. But it's not terribly clear. Yeah. But I mean, ultimately, it doesn't really matter to the narrative. It's just a case of I'm a big nerd.
Yeah.
And I want to know, because it helps give context for when things are happening and how long it's been and like everything.
I needs to know.
Yeah, it's all connected to like how much I like theorizing about stuff. Like I've been into Zelda and Kingdom Hearts for over decades now.
Oh yeah.
And it's like that's the kind of thing that interests me. So I liked figuring this stuff out. And honestly, with RWBY, it's if you can get the information which is there, it's pretty straightforward to work out the timeline. I mean, obviously, I put this together, but so one of my first major notes here is regarding Word of God. Yeah. And sort of how it like direct statements from specifically the writers, like not other members of the crew or actors. That's a different trope. It's Word of St. Paul, I think it is. Which like
there's a specific trope for that?
There is, yeah, because it's like Word of God is the direct, okay, these are the writers, so we can take this as supplemental canon. Word of St. Paul is head canon for the people involved, really.
Okay.
So I'm specifically talking about something that came up volume 6 with RWBY's age.
Yeah,
Lindsay,
it was.
Lindsay talking about RWBY's age and saying she was 17 a couple times.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, no one else, like, that didn't come direct from the writers. We got no follow up on it.
Yeah.
So we can't take that as anything. And especially with fiction, like even direct Word of God statements, those have to be taken with a grain of salt if they do not gel with the canon.
Yeah.
Because the show is what we call primary canon, and then we have secondary canon, like the books, the manga, the comics.
Yeah, I think it's that's pretty much how it is for most media. Like you have novel extensions and that, but typically, unless someone says, everything in the novel is canon or something like that, it's going to be whatever is presented to you within the media is going to be the canon.
The primary media is the canon. Everything else is supplemental. So, and as we've had with the manga very specifically, it's canon till it's not. So unless it, so if it supports the canon, we can take it as sort of as fact. Yeah. But if it contradicts, we have to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, like we have the manga itself. Yeah. That's just adapting from the series, but it's still doing stuff differently, which isn't canon to the series.
The Bunta Konami one. The Shiro Miwa one did little twists on the trailers, but
I think it was the Shiro ones that were the ones that are mostly canon. It's the manga adaptation of the series itself.
Yeah, that's a bit we're having a bit iffy with. But the Shiro Miwa one is quite good. I do like the whole additional adventure we got. And that it introduced the possession type Grim, the Geists. Before Volume 4 started.
Yay!
Because it actually specifically shows the Armagigas, the knight that Weiss summons. It presents that as possessed by a Grim. And then I think in the Volume 4 commentary, Miles and Kerry did say that was the case. So when they were talking about the Petrogigas we got there.
Yeah.
With Word of God, like, I think in general you have to present death of the author when it comes to any sort of interpretation of the canon.
Interpretation, yeah.
But if it's
there's an entire video by Lindsay Ellis on death of the author as well.
But it's like, so death of the author for how you're supposed to interpret a text, because obviously you can interpret a text however you like. But,
basically, the author can't tell you how you're meant to interpret it.
Yeah, how you're meant to receive it.
They can say what they intended, but ultimately, if that's the impression they get,
Yeah, but because, like, the viewer isn't necessarily going to go looking for that Word of God.
Yeah. Which is why we ignore J.K. Rowling on Twitter.
Yeah, because, oh God. But, I mean, for this, we don't really have any Word of God statements on interpreting the timeline. Again, we have the Word of Saint. We have the Word of Saint Paul thing. But we don't have any sort of... The only thing I can really point out is in terms of clarification. Like, because Word of God can be split into interpretation and clarification. Like, here's what something is because we didn't put that little detail into the thing. And that doesn't contradict anything. Like, how the Volume 4 RWBY character short is... Like, the location we see it is in Vale.
Yeah.
Like, it's in the kingdom, which means it's... Obviously, it's no longer winter at that point, so that's got to be early spring, because they've not left the continent yet to go to Anima.
Yeah.
So with this, we're primarily relying on the show itself as the primary canon, and then secondary canon materials, like the manga After the Fall of the Book, Grim Eclipse, I think comes up a couple times. Just so I can place it into the timeline. I don't think it actually adds any information. It's just between volumes 2 and 3.
Yeah, Grim Eclipse, really, it just presents a new character, doesn't it?
Yeah, it presents a new character. It's just a story that happened between volumes 2 and 3. Like, it was
also,
just one of the missions they went on.
Yeah. Also, I guess you could take it to say it also introduces Mutant Grimm.
Oh yeah, the Mutant Grimm, which are cool.
Yes. I mean, they've popped up in Amity Arena.
Yeah, so they've included them there.
Fingers crossed that means we might be getting something in the main canon soon.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, I just got a bit off topic. They were going to introduce Penny's jetpack from the Shiro Miwa manga.
Ooh.
Which turns up in the last few chapters, which is an original adventure where set post Volume 1 before the break between the first 2 semesters.
Yeah.
Where Team RWBY and Team Juniper go on a training mission and end up fighting a bunch of King Taijitus that have been fused together by a different kind of possession type Grim. Yeah, so it's like this giant Hydra, and it's cool as hell. But it's a great little adventure, and I don't know how they'd incorporate that specific Grim to the game. They'd kind of have to just go, here's the Hydra, deal with it.
Yeah, I just had a horrible thought. What? Like, with all the stuff they've done, what if they came up with a Grim that was like a homunculus?
Oh.
Basically. That would be terrifying if they had something to do with Grimm that was like they tried to create something with a soul using Grimm parts.
Oh, yeah.
And it just turned out horribly wrong.
Yeah. Like, scientists going, bad. Because, like, that's the thing, like, the Armageddon, like, that Wise had to fight, that was put together by the Schnee Dust Company.
Yeah.
So it's like, Like, and another thing we're going to be using, it's one specific detail released in this show. It's in RWBY Chibi. Like, everything, like, all that is gags. None of it's canon events. But we see locations, we get details which are canon, like the communal kitchen we see.
Yeah, like, we've also got Ruby's birthday.
Yeah, which is actually my main point for this whole thing, because that's the big keystone point we can sort of base the rest of the timeline around.
Yeah, that Christmas exists in this world.
Ruby's birthday is October 31st, Halloween.
Yeah.
Get rid of that. And so Ruby's birthday is Halloween, and we can sort of center the rest of the show from around that, as using it as a landmark.
Yeah.
Because we know everything up to Volume 3, Episode 5? It might be 6. Where Ruby talks to Penny.
Yeah.
And she meets Ciel. And Ciel says that Ruby is 15. Now, we've known Ruby is 15 since the Red trailer, per word of God from Monty.
Yeah.
So we know that everything... So we know it's fall from episode... I think it's 3. It is 3 of Volume 3 that it's fall. So it's September, October, November sort of time. So obviously it's before the end of October.
Yeah.
Volume 3 is happening, because Volume 3 only covers a few days.
Yeah.
And the time skip in the last chapter of Volume 3 is up to winter, which is where Ruby turns 16 and the next chapter of the show begins, because next time we see her in the Volume 4 trailer, winter's over, it's got to be spring again.
Yeah.
But so because we have Volume 3, we can sort of track back where the rest of the show is.
Yeah.
Because this gives us the first year. So we know the Red trailer happens in winter, because the patch we see is very snowy. So that's got to be, well, that could be December, January, February sort of time.
Yeah, roughly around there.
Yeah.
So Ruby would have had to have been unconscious for at least a month. Presuming the earliest it would have snowed would have been late fall.
No, she woke up not long after, then there was a time skip to it snowing.
Ah, okay, yeah. No, I'm remembering now.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, so we when we start with the Red trailer, it's still winter. And then Volume 3 ends after a time skip to winter, so that's our first year of the show.
Yeah.
And we can put the other 3 trailers all following the Red trailer, obviously. We can also put in the character shorts.
Yeah.
Because we know that the Weiss character short from Volume 5 happens before the White trailer. The White trailer happens not long before Weiss goes to Beacon, because fighting the Armageddon was her test to be able to go, and it was before she set her hair asymmetrical as a form of rebellion. So, and the fact that it's snowing means it could have been intense winter there. We don't know. It's Atlas, and as we've seen in Volume 7, it's quite snowy there. It's very snowy there all the time.
In general, yeah.
Because it's like the Arctic.
Yeah, it's the North Pole, basically.
Yeah. So going backwards from Ruby's birthday, the 31st of October, we know that everything in Volume 3 happens... It's about 5 days, I think it is.
Yeah.
The whole volume. It doesn't take place over a very long time. And Ruby's 16 following the time skip after she wakes up.
Yeah. She basically slept through her birthday.
Yeah. Well, we don't know if she slept through her birthday.
True.
Like, she was at home for her birthday, and then she left after some point.
Yeah.
With,
I just imagine her screaming all of a sudden, "No! I missed a birthday!"
God. Yeah. So yeah, we know... And actually, an episode of Volume 3, Chapter 7, which is the whole flashback, that happens the same, like, the main chunk of it, where Cinder, Emerald, and Mercury fight Amber, happens the same day as the Black trailer.
Yeah.
And not long before the Black trailer is the flashback of Blake's character short, where she's talking to Ilya because she's in the Forever Fall Forest there.
Yeah.
Trying to think. I've got my notes here. I'm trying to think. So, yeah, that's all happening.
What's that?
And we know that Volume 3 and Volume 2 happen in the same semester because that's what RWBY says at the beginning of Volume 2.
Yeah.
Our second semester is going to be great when talking about how the tournament's at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Which also implies a third semester after the new year. So they have like a winter break. Which is also supported. I've got an image here. So this image is an excerpt from After the Fall.
Yep.
Where it says that we get a bit of profile on Fox. And the community he lived with before he went to Beacon. But the specific detail I want to note is that he and Coffee were at Beacon for 1.5 years.
Right.
So that's another hint that there's another semester.
Yeah.
At least one. And Volume 2, so from that we get Volume 2 spans the first few weeks of the semester. Because we know at least a week passes between The Best Day Ever, which is the first couple episodes, and then them getting into their unique, the volume exclusive outfits.
Oh. Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
There we go.
So we know that a week passes between The Best Day Ever, where they having all those games, and we have them then deciding to go after Roman, and them getting into their Volume 2 outfits to go out, because I think they are deliberately going up to the weekend. I think I don't know if it's specifically said.
I wouldn't think they would just go gallivanting off if it wasn't the weekend at that point.
Yeah, they had plans, they were doing stuff for the rest of the day, and then there's more time passing, so it's like up to the dance, and then immediately after the dance we have them going on the mission, which we have the breach in.
Yeah.
And then that's the whole of Volume 2, and that's so a few weeks there. Then we get a gap in which Grim Eclipse happens, and then we have Volume 3 towards the end of the semester, but evidently before the end of October.
Yeah.
Right. So I just want to point out, this is going to be important for Year 2. We have a single semester before this, and then we have the second semester, which ends in October. So that covers fall, and then that's the end of the year.
Yeah.
So autumn, fall sort of time.
Yeah.
Right. And we also know that the other academies have their semesters at the same time.
They must do, yeah.
Because this is why Cinder, Emerald, and Mercury are not present at all for the first volume, because they are because that's the first semester. The first volume covers the entire semester, and we know it covers several months from something RWBY says in the final episode, or one of the final episodes of the volume.
Yeah.
And so we know that, and we obviously know they were at Haven posing as students, so they could then enter the tournament without arousing suspicion.
Yeah.
Because that would be the biggest tip off suddenly they're being represented by students, like if Mistral notice they're being represented by students that nobody knows, like the Haven students especially, that's going to arouse suspicion, so they have to have posed as students the entire time.
Yeah, presumably they had help from Leo.
Yeah, this is probably how they got, like, this is probably how they blackmailed and got Leo involved to begin with.
Yeah.
And this, like, this isn't related to anything, but it's just a delightful fucking mental image of Neo having to do homework.
Oh no.
Like, were Emerald and Mercury just sort of there to make sure she didn't stab anyone? I have to know. But yeah, so that's the main one, and obviously they're not there throughout the entire first volume, and they show up at the same sort of time Sun shows up.
Yeah.
And this
No, sorry.
I know. Okay. And then in After the Fall we get another one, where during her own initiation, Velvet wonders if one of her friends who went to Atlas is going through initiation.
Yeah, so
which I'll put here again.
Yeah, so they do have to have had blah blah blah. They would have had to have semesters happening at the same time.
Yeah, which also, would also mean the exchange program, they're not losing or gaining, like, having extra school time or losing any.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all that.
Yep. Ugh, no. Dang it. Now I'm the one yawning tonight, sorry.
Oh, God. So we know semesters cover months, so that means volume 2 and 3, there's months between them.
Yeah.
Ending before October 31st, which means the semester kind of has to start in summer.
Yeah.
And so the semester before that presumably ended in summer and started in spring.
Yeah.
So we're talking April to June, July-ish, and then July, August to October.
Yeah, because with the Huntsman Academies as well, I can't imagine they would take long breaks, like a whole month off.
Yeah.
Or something, so they must have semesters by season for their academies, yeah.
Yeah. We know that there's a 2-week, like, RWBY alludes to a 2-week break.
Yeah.
In volume 2, but in volume 5, it's a month break. But that might be because of extraneous circumstances, or just usually it would be a month. Or it might be the case that it's been a good 2 weeks has just been part of the break RWBY's talking about, and they actually did have a month. And it's just like RWBY and Yang might have gone home for a bit. We don't know.
Yeah.
Like, we're not given a clear thing what happened in between. So.
Yeah.
So the second semester of the school year starts in late summer, ends in autumn, fall, if you're American.
Yeah.
Right. So then we've got, so that's covering our first year. So winter bookends both of them, like the beginning and end. RWBY Red Trailer, and then volume 3, chapter 12, time skip.
Yeah.
And then sometime in spring, we get volume 1 starts, and we have the trailers before that, like, scattered end of winter into spring.
Yeah.
Which, like, Yang's character short happens before her trailer, because we see Roman recruiting the goons he then takes to cause crime, which RWBY then stops not long after.
Cause crime.
Yeah, crime. General crime and mischief making.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's our first year. So we figured that out. That's our block. And we figured out where the semesters are. And that's important for later, because post time skip is where things get a bit difficult.
Yeah.
Because volume 4, we don't know where everything is. So I think it is, again, like we did with the first year, where we had RWBY's birthday and we could backtrack from there. We'll start with volume 5, because we know where that ends.
Yeah.
It starts it ends the day before the beginning of the fall semester. Now, we don't know which semester that is, but from what we figured out from the previous semesters, it has to be the second one.
Yeah. So, presumably, it would, by that point, it would have had to have been at most a year since volume 2, 3?
Yeah, volume 2. So, volume 2 starts the day before the second semester. Volume 5 ends the day before the fall semester, and we know that the second semester ends in fall, and then there's the year-end break. Because we kind of have to assume the year-end break because RWBY's saying the end of the year.
Yeah.
So that gives us exactly everything.
Yeah, so 2 semesters covered from volumes 1 to 3.
Yep.
And then by the end of volume 5, it would have been a whole year since volume 2.
Since the beginning of volume 2, yeah.
Yeah.
So
then, trying to think of it. Now I'm confusing myself.
Yeah, it's fine. I did write everything down. I think it's in section 2.
Yeah, no, so it would have had to have been a few months where they were separated then, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, this is where, like, we had the word of God that it was 6 to 8 months, and they said 3 to 4 months, because I think they weren't really sure, and it depends where you're tracking it from. Like...
Yeah.
But...
I think RWBY would have had... Oh, kitty, hello. RWBY would have had to have stayed at home for a while for it to become winter.
Yeah, and we don't know when in winter she left, but we know she was still in Vale by the time the snow had melted.
Yeah.
Thanks to the character short and Kerry's tweet, which I have an image of.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a tweet. It's a Tumblr post, actually. It's from the official Tumblr Q&A. I'll just put it in there. So
on the outskirts of Vale. Oh.
Yeah, so they were still on their way to Anima, which means by spring they hadn't got out of the kingdom.
Yeah. Which makes sense, because they were still making their way across Mistral by the time they had got there.
Yeah, they were still going across Anima. They hadn't even made it to Mistral, I don't think. Like, the outskirts of the kingdom. And...
That's interesting, though. I can't remember the architecture of the Burning Village, though. So
yeah, but it is apparently Vale.
Actually, I think, that would probably fit. For some reason, I was thinking of the villages we saw in Volume 4, but not actually where we started in that character short. Let me look that up.
Yeah. Actually, I just want to talk about a thing, because I accidentally skipped over this point. The biggest hint we have, like, that supports that Volume 5 ends the same sort of time Volume 2 began in the year.
Yeah.
The biggest hint we have that Volume 5 and Volume 2 are happening around the same sort of time in the year.
Yeah.
Like, Volume 2 beginning in the summer and Volume 5 ending in the summer.
Yeah.
Is that when we see Patch, it's very obviously still green in the Stinger.
Yeah.
It's not been long since Yang left. We know it's not been very long since she arrived in Anima.
Yeah.
And left home.
Yeah.
And so it's still green. It's still very much like it was in Volume 4, summer weather. And that's, like I said, it's the biggest hint that it's still summer, because it doesn't look anything like the way we saw the same location in Volume 3 when it was like October, autumn time.
Yeah.
Like, trees were, like, the leaves were brown, you know.
All the leaves are brown.
Yeah. So...
Hang on, I just got this for reference, and that looks like, from the character short, that looks like more like Vale architecture, more European.
Like very sort of, European architecture. So that's something just to keep in mind. We know, because we have how these locations look, like, we know what time looks like, what autumn looks like in Patch.
Yeah.
Meaning we cannot be a year after the fall of Beacon at that point.
Yeah, no.
Like, or even a year after the tournament or the beginning of Volume 3. We are definitely before that.
Yeah.
In terms of where we are in the year.
Yeah.
Right, so...
Kitty, are you trying to ask if you to go outside? Go on.
Yeah, again, establishing Volume 5 ends roughly a year after Volume 2 began. We can space out where the characters start in Volume 5. So Blake is on Menagerie 2 months before the beginning of the semester.
Yeah.
At the beginning of Volume 5. Ruby starts a month before the semester. So Blake's first appearance in the semester is 2 months before. Ruby's first appearance is a month before.
Yeah.
Weiss and Yang show up a few weeks after that.
Yeah.
Because when Ruby and Oscar talk, he's had the cane for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
He says. So, and that's before Weiss and Yang show up.
Yeah.
So Weiss and Yang weren't there for very long before everything else anyway.
I'm trying to think, with Weiss's place in this timeline, it would have... I'm not sure how fast the airships are, but it probably would have taken a while for her to get from Atlas to the middle.
Well, the thing is, we know that the airship in Volume 6, this is actually helpful, the airship in Volume 6 to Atlas took them most of the day, like most of the afternoon into the night.
Yeah, but I think that's also combined with the fact that they were literally at the tippy top of Mistral or Anima.
That's true.
At that
That
point.
is true. Yeah, and we see like if you're on the map, I think like the lake, Weiss covers like with the gravity dust islands is right in the center. So
yeah, because really the reason why it's so snow covered at the end of Volume 6 is because they're at the northernmost part of Anima.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah. So that's why it took them less than a day. They're in a fast airship, and B, they've literally covered all the ground, and there's literally just that much left distance.
That much, yeah, and Weiss was in a cargo ship, and I think we see her like having like remembering her training mission with Winter, and it's night, and then obviously next time we see her it's the day, so it's definitely longer than an overnight trip.
Yeah,
is the thing, and that's where Weiss and Yang's storylines match up first, and this is a few weeks before the semester starts.
Yeah.
And because we know, and Blake leaves Menagerie for Haven 2 weeks before. So it took her 2 weeks to get there, ish.
Yeah, which would make sense because they've got a lot of people to load onto a boat, haven't they?
Yeah, load onto a boat, but the boat's only got to go north.
Yeah.
So...
True.
So the only thing we don't know is from when, like, how long it took Yang to get there.
Yeah, because we know Yang took that boat, after Blake had taken it, and then she took it from Vale into Anima to get through Mistral. So the boat would have then had to go to Menagerie.
Like, almost immediately after Yang got off.
Yeah, so that's presumed...
That's the tragedy, they just missed each other.
That's the thing about it as well. Like, Blake would have had to try and get in contact with him at some point.
Yeah,
so
like, he must have come... Like, they must go through a route, and he'll have come down that way. He might have gone right there.
Yeah.
From there, the captain. So...
Yeah. It's either that, or they sent a Faunus with wings to make the perilous journey to get like an immediate SOS to.
Yeah, could have done. But Blake leaves Menagerie about the same time Yang and Weiss reunite with Ruby.
Yeah. And
reunite with each other, because it's like not even a day.
Yeah.
Like, those reunions all happen in like the same afternoon. But yeah, so we've got from there, like Blake starts 2 months before, Ruby starts a month before. And we sort of track Volume 4 from there.
Yeah.
Like, Nora says that we get a thing from Nora when she and Ren discover the Knuckleavy's cave, that the village of Shion, which was destroyed right at the beginning of the volume, was weeks away. So Volume 4 for them was a few weeks.
Yeah.
And we don't know how much time was covered for Weiss. We can assume it was a few weeks, just when she starts practicing for the concert.
Yeah.
And then Yang, we think she time skips. Well, she has a few weeks of training, and then we probably time skip a couple more weeks just for her to get to Anima.
Yeah.
And Blake's only seems to cover a few days. Actually, her whole thing is actually quite condensed, because we see her on the ship, then she gets home.
Yeah, her storyline taking a few days does make sense, because then
and
that
again,
would have been like them hearing Blake's back and then them sending someone to spy on her.
Yeah, sending Ilya to spy on her, and then that information getting to Adam and getting back.
Yeah.
Like, also,
I really doubt we would see her all that mild-mannered or calm if she had spent weeks with Sun alone on that island.
Yeah. Like he managed to get on her nerves within hours. So
yeah.
Like, and then
he would get on my nerves too if he turned out to be a stalker for me.
Yeah. So
Ooh.
So volume 4 really. So and also it makes sense that Blake's story doesn't take as long.
Yeah.
Because she's also still earlier than everyone else.
Yeah.
So everyone starts around the same time if you want to be generous. A couple weeks pass for everyone else. While Blake gets that progression in her own story in volume 5.
Yeah.
Not much really happened there in volume 4.
Yeah.
Really, it was just we met Ilya.
Basically, yeah. I think volume 4 had them finally arriving in Haven. It was basically exposition for some of the stuff to do with Crow. Or Ozpin, rather. Namely, we had the fable of the brother gods and that brought up.
Yeah.
We had Crow filling the gang in on what was going on. Yeah,
with the maidens and everything.
We had the introduction of Salem's lot and Salem herself as well.
Oh yeah, because she only had that one scene at the end of volume 3 before that.
Yeah. When everyone had that realization that the narration from the first episode is actually a villain.
Yeah, so volume 4 we could say starts roughly about the same time volume 1 did.
Yeah.
Which would make sense because it's the beginning of really the actual start of the beginning of our second year of the show.
Yeah.
And then volume 5 ends where volume 2, a year after volume 2 began.
Yeah.
And then volume 6, which is our most recent fully complete volume.
Yeah, that
starts.
Yeah. Oh, you continue. Yeah.
I mean, no, go for it because I was
going to say volume 6. Out of all of them, seems to be the one that covers the shortest span of time.
Yeah,
based on
rivals,
face value. Yeah.
Yeah, it rivals volume 3. Like if volume 3 didn't have that time skip, I think volume 3 would probably win.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be close. But no, I think volume 6 would still win.
Let me think. Yeah, volume 6. They started on the train. And
they started on the train.
They were ready for it to be an overnight trip because the train is literally overnight rooms.
Yeah, overnight rooms.
And
but it seems like they're only just out on the day.
Yeah.
And then they train crash. They have the Lost Fable.
Yeah.
And Breaking with Oz. And then they find the farm. The farm with all the dead bodies.
That's where they spend the night.
They spend the night, and then they have the apathy in the morning.
Yep. And then they arrive in
Argus by late afternoon.
Yeah.
Because they get the story of Maria, and then arrive in Argus and meet the Cotta Arcs.
Yeah.
Who are a lovely, lovely family.
Sean, introduce us to more of your sisters, please.
Yeah, we get the picture, and it's just like, all of you are incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I like the twins. I like the nerd.
Yeah. To be fair on Sean, he's getting a bit more interesting now that he's had less of a spotlight on him, at least.
Yeah. He
has something of a character.
Yeah, forward, so, and that means that Volume 6 is happening 2 weeks after Volume 5, which was the beginning of the second semester, the fall semester.
Yeah.
So we're still in summer. We're about, I want to say, coming up a year after the dance at this point.
Yeah, they wouldn't have gone on right away because we established they had to stay behind and sort of calm things down before they headed off again, because the headmaster literally just died.
Crow says right at the beginning of the volume that it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah. So we've got that time.
Yeah. So that's another anchor point. We have that specific thing that gives us a time frame between the two volumes. And that's very useful for figuring things out then.
Yeah.
And this is the point where we bring in another misconception people have, because Argus and the train ride, there's snow everywhere.
Yeah.
And people assume, oh, it's winter now.
No, they are literally still up north.
Yeah, like
you can see it on the map.
Yeah, like if I put the picture up, like if I'm just going to show the...
Because that's the thing, we don't see outside of the train station, so we don't see it's winter out there. We only see snow when they're coming across a snowy mountainside about to be attacked by
when they're on
Grimm.
a snowy mountainside, and then like they're already part way to like the northern edge of the continent.
Yeah, so that pretty much just explains that.
Yeah, it's just snowy there. Like it's just a snowy area. It's just cold.
That's like saying it's always winter in Atlas and it's always summer in Vacuo, basically.
Yeah, and it's not. It's just a different climate, and like Mistral clearly has a more varied climate.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what that red thing is in the corner.
Volcanoes.
We haven't seen a volcano. Is that one?
That would be cool. I don't know if we could get a spin-off character short, or like a mini movie or something, but can we please have like a huntsman team going into a volcano area?
Yeah, like where are the volcanic Grimm?
Yeah.
Those would be horrifying.
Oh god. Imagine a Geist.
Like that's the thing. We know that Grimm can adapt to climates. We've seen this in Volume 7.
Yeah.
The sabers have like icy protrusions on their backs, and the Beowulf.
The Beowulf there, that's also...
Yeah, like in the most recent episode, like episode 5, we saw Yang and Blake fighting a Beowulf with ice on its back and like thicker fur.
Yeah.
And it's also the kind, like they've kind of updated the summon Winter has.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same one now, as opposed to what we saw, which was just the generic model in Volume 3 because it was limitations.
Yeah.
You know.
So...
Yeah,
right, so it's up north, it's snowy. It's
snowy, that's it. And in fact, there is further proof for this, which I just remembered because I'm not on the page.
Yeah.
Because I was about to go into a point, like, Volume 6 starts 2 weeks after the end of Volume 5, and only covers a few days, like, go to Brunswick.
I would even say it was
get to Argus.
Few days,
Then they go to Argus, then they go to Argus, then the next day they go to Cordovin.
Yeah.
And get rejected. They have the whole break apart of the team. Oscar disappears for a few hours.
Then
they come back together.
Then they have the plan to steal the ship, and then the next day they steal the ship. So it's like 3 or 4 days.
Like, it is 4 days, and then that 4th day goes into the first 2 episodes of Volume 7.
Yeah, that was the longest day. Oh my god.
That's the longest day in the entire show.
I think that's why in Volume 6 you see so many people on the breaking point, basically. Yeah. This is a lot of information to process.
Yeah, that's why Yang's just done with the Ironwood by the time he arrives. Like,
yeah,
it's been a long day. But yeah, so it only covers a few days. Even if you give them an additional day to make that plan, it wasn't a very complicated plan. So
yeah,
like they had all the reasons available. It wouldn't have taken them that long. It could have just been overnight.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't have taken up any more time to try and get there. That was the thing, because they have the relic with them.
Yeah, so that's 2 weeks. But Cinder's subplot through the volume happens after all this.
Yeah, it happens a few weeks after, doesn't it?
Yeah, because when she arrives in the town that Little Miss Malachite's based in, there's a news report reporting that it's been a month since the Battle of Haven.
Yeah, so
she's been out of commission for a month.
So she's 2 weeks behind at least.
Yeah, she's 2 weeks behind at the beginning of the volume.
Yeah.
By the end of the volume, because it's been a few days, she's a week behind. But then Malachite tells her to wait a week for the information she wants.
Yeah.
So that again puts her 2 weeks behind. and then she runs into Neo, and then they go to Haven.
Yeah.
And
so
that's a few additional days as well. We don't know how long it takes because they go back to the vault.
Yeah.
And then Neo steals the airship, and that's actually the big thing. When Neo is arriving with the airship, we see like the area that Cinder's waiting in.
Yeah.
And this is a big indicator for the time of year because it's just lush green trees.
Yeah.
Like, it's still very clearly summer where Cinder is.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of snow because they're just in the north.
Wait a minute, they should be in the beginning of fall by now, shouldn't they? Or have I got that wrong?
Well, I mean, we're in the fall semester. It's been a month, so yeah, we're sort of thinking sort of September time.
Yeah, so
changing.
Yeah, so wherever she is definitely not winter. We can tell.
Yeah, it's definitely not winter. It's nearing the end of summer by that point.
Considering Mistral and how green it is, that could be the case further down in Mistral.
Yeah,
it just has a warmer climate, so it's probably fall there, but. Again, because of the different climate, it looks a lot more lush than, say, Vale would. Yeah,
I mean, and another thing is, like, I mean, when we see, like, where we see the city, like, throughout Volume 5, the trees are green.
Yeah.
And, like, this is a similarly temperate sort of region to Vale and Patch.
Yeah.
The trees are green, it's summertime. And it's still the same when Cinder gets out of that cave right at the beginning. Like, the trees are still green. So, it is... like still summer by the end of Volume 6.
Yeah, I think the closest indication we have that it might be autumn time is it was raining, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah. So yeah, like the seasons are changing, which, you know, happens.
Yeah. It's a thing.
But like we're still not up to Volume 3 anniversary yet.
It'll be interesting to see her pop up in the middle of Volume 7 and people are like, oh yeah, shit, she's still here.
Yeah, like I think she might be close now because Volume 7, we got the first 2 episodes, they're the same day as the end of Volume 6.
And by episode 5, which we've just watched, we have that whole montage.
Yeah, we had the whole montage, so at least a week.
Yeah.
I want to say, like, because it's enough time that Mara's noticed a pattern with Blake and Yang partnering up.
Yeah.
But yeah, chapter 3, I think chapters 3 and 4 have to be like the next day.
Yeah.
Because they've got new outfits and upgrades, and that's might be Pietro working very quickly through the printers.
I'm thinking about it. It would have been at least a day or maybe a couple of days, depending on them.
Yeah, maybe a couple of days at most.
Because they would have had to get their upgrades all sorted, and they probably would have had to plan everything ahead of time going in to deal with the dust.
Like we had them like at Clover's strategy meeting, and that had to have been like the next day or something.
Yeah.
But it's so I want to say like 2 days.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it could be much more of that, because otherwise we would have had the talk about lying to Ironwood before the drop.
Yeah, like they would have been busy leading up to it to not really have any time to talk, but it wouldn't have been too long. That, and we've also you've got everyone being tired after that mission at the mine is complete, with RWBY going, where do we go sightseeing, and everyone's just going, I'm tired.
I want to go to bed. And then like we get a few and then as you said, chapter 5 we get a few missions. So bringing in After the Fall, because this is important for timeline stuff. After the Fall takes place. We know it takes place after the beginning of Volume 6.
Yeah.
Because Sun and Neptune show up at the end.
Right. Okay.
And because when we saw them at the beginning of Volume 6, they had their own trip to plan. They're going to Vacuo.
Yeah.
And they arrive in After the Fall, and After the Fall itself places itself about a year after the fall of Beacon, but obviously we don't know how long it's been, and when you say it's been a year, you're probably rounding.
Yeah.
Like, you can't take that as direct. It's been 12 months.
You can't look at your calendar and go, yes, it's been precisely 1 year.
Yeah, but, we're given a general sort of a year-ish. It's been a year.
Yeah.
But what this means is, because we're not up to a year after the fall yet, because we know where Ruby's birthday is, we know that she's still 16 right now.
Yeah.
The other characters are definitely all 18.
Yeah.
Possibly 19. We don't know because we weren't given any birthdays between volumes 1 and 2.
Yeah, Yang, if, like you said before concerning that present Ruby supposedly got her.
Ruby's...
If it's a birthday present, then Yang's birthday is coming up.
Yeah, and, like, given her whole thing, you know...
Yeah.
If it's still summer, her birthday, the sun...
Yeah.
You know, she's alluded to summer through a lot of things, so putting her birthday in, like, August would make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, because of that montage, we assume it's been about a week, so...
Yeah.
Cinder and Neo are at least a week away now.
Yeah.
If not already here.
Yeah, I'd wager, because they got an airship, like, depending on how fast it was, because they got one of the wooden ones, didn't they? So, depending on how fast the airship they snagged is...
Yeah, it might take them longer.
Yeah. Alternatively, like you said, they could already be there, and they could just reveal themselves.
Yeah, and we also have a bit of a thing about Before the Dawn, which is the next book.
Ooh.
I'll just copy the blurb for you, because I haven't read it in a bit. Yeah, so it's been a few months since After the Fall at this point.
Yeah. Ooh, that's blue.
Yeah, it's from the Scholastic website. So yeah, Professor Theodore, who was our final headmaster and the Dorothy of the group.
Yeah.
Because Theodore, Dorothy, Theodora comes from... Theodora and Dorothea are actually the same name. Like, Dorothea is just the reversal of Theodora, which is the Greek name that Dorothy is derived from.
Yeah.
So there you go, Theodore. He's the one who stayed at home.
Yeah.
Because there's no place like home.
Yeah.
There it is. There's the thing. But yeah, so the book like sounds interesting. We've got a villain who is hunting people for their powerful semblances, trying to recruit them or something, like human trafficking. And this is what Coffee and Sun are going to be dealing with in the books. And it's been a few months, which means it's fall, winter time. Like, but obviously it's vacuous, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, but this might be time-wise taking place either during or after Volume 7 then.
Yeah, like, I think given the few months, it's probably after.
Yeah.
Like, at least after where we are now as of episode 5.
Yeah. Also, a side note, why would you split up existing teams? That doesn't make sense. This just seems like paranoia. Yeah.
Like, because he can't trust people, he's putting them in different teams, so they're all watching each other. Like, they can't collaborate if they're on different teams, you know.
That doesn't make sense. Overthrow Theodore 2019.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the ultimate conclusion from this is we're still in summer. It's not been a year since the fall of Beacon yet. We're coming up on it.
Yeah.
Within a couple months, I want to say.
Yeah. It's been roughly a year. That's what we can say. But just because we say it's been a year doesn't mean it's been on the dot a year. Yeah.
Like, we're coming up on it. There's still things to happen. And because Ruby doesn't turn 16 until after the fall, we can't say she's 17 yet, which is the big thing, like we mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, people are really stuck on that because Lindsay said it twice, and it's like nothing. Like, if you actually analyze how time passes in the show and make these connections, it doesn't match up. And unfortunately, well, you've got to go with the show there. Yeah. So if the show doesn't support that, it contradicts it.
She would be approaching 17 relatively closely, but
like we're a few months away. Yeah.
I think the thing is, with everyone saying it's been around a year, that doesn't mean exactly like you said, because the closest example I can think of is with BioShock 2, where you have the beginning of the game in 1958 on New Year's Eve. But even though it says 10 years later for Bioshock 2 to begin, it doesn't mean it's been exactly 10 years later, otherwise it would be 1969. It's 1968, so it's been roughly 10 years.
Yeah. Another thing people have started doing is people started saying, oh, it's been 2 years since the start of the show, which is massively wrong. Like, we know it's wrong just from after the fall, because they're saying it's only a year, and Fox, we were only at Beacon for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Which means RWBY and co were only there for half a year.
Yeah. So
it's been 1.5 years at most, which is, half a year is difference, like 6 months.
Yeah,
it's like,
pretty much. So
it's 25% difference.
Why would you say it was 2 years? Why?
Because if Ruby's 17, she was 15 at the start of the show, so it's been 2 years. But it hasn't, because she was already 15 at the start of the show.
Yeah.
Like, her birthday was still before that.
Yeah.
And we know when her birthday was.
Yeah.
Like, if she had been at Beacon the entire first year, she would have turned 16 during the school year.
Yeah.
Is the point.
Yeah. Like you can't count Ruby.
She would be in her second school year at this point.
Yeah. You can't count Ruby Chibi as well as canonical fact that she's had a birthday.
Yeah, because that's literally nothing bad ever happened.
Yeah. like in the show, Ruby at most would be 17, but that's only if the time doesn't line up. But she should be a couple months shy of 17 right now.
Yeah, because we have that information that she was still 15 as of the fall of Beacon, thanks to CL giving us that profile.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, CL is, just the way she gives that profile, she would be the one to keep that information up to date.
Yeah. And
if it wasn't up to date, why wouldn't Ruby correct her?
Yeah, there's that, and with it's sort of like all of the main characters right now, they've been instated, and they're the youngest huntsmen and huntresses.
Yeah,
currently.
Yeah, and which means Ruby is the youngest huntress ever because she's still 16.
Yeah.
That's the wild thing about it, I think.
I mean, on the one hand, maybe you want to have them go through more lessons, but on the other hand, Ironwood probably has a good point in instating them now. Because they've proved themselves, and if he's going to need help, he's probably going to need official huntsmen to carry out that help.
Yeah, I think... I can't remember what... I'm going to look up the script. Crow said something in Volume 3 about how a week out there is worth something... at Beacon,
months or year.
I think it was a month, and they've had a whole year, so so that's they've had 4 years equivalent educational experience.
I mean, technically they've had Crow as a chaperone, even though he did reveal himself for 6 months.
Yeah, he was following them for 5-ish months.
Yeah, he was shadowing them. So
yeah.
Yeah, you've said it in the notes here, yeah. It's with the anniversary of the fall of Beacon and Ruby's birthday coming in the following months, yeah.
Yeah. So, every day out there is worth a week in this place, is what Crow said. So, so they've been out for some time. I think, ironically, Yang and Weiss have actually had less time than the others.
Yeah, Weiss was under house arrest, and Yang was just isolating herself.
She was still trying to recover.
Yeah. So really, that's the only thing that justifies why Yang would be out of practice, or why Weiss isn't as skilled, possibly, as Blake and Ruby, because she's literally not been able to train.
Yeah. She had to completely rearrange her room and train in private.
Yeah.
But yeah, so every day out there is worth a week in this place, so they're gaining a lot more experience just out in the world, fighting what they've been fighting. They wouldn't have seen the apathy at Beacon. They definitely wouldn't have fought a Leviathan. Yeah,
from the sounds of it as well, apathy are one of those things you don't want to fight deep out in the woods.
Yeah, like even like, and the problem is like they found a nest.
Yeah,
like,
Maria was Maria, as soon as she knew what was happening, was like, "We've got to get the fuck out of here." So...
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like they're an insidious one because they don't even have to fight you to kill you.
Yeah.
They just have to drain your will to fight and then just scramble your insides.
Well, I think based on the gameplay in Amity Arena, it is just like one of them can just sort of drain you, but you could probably take it on. But because we had an entire nest of them underneath that village, it was...
like two got in there and they just started
They were just amplified, yeah.
Yeah, like they like just the general presence is draining.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about it.
Yeah. Still freaked out by apathy.
Yeah, it's the worst. But yeah, like there's so much going on there, and it seems like longer. Like there's been more time than there actually has, evidently, which is I think why people are making these assumptions, and the fact that a lot of this information is there, but it's not is in your face. You're not given a timeline on screen.
Yeah, you're just given hints.
Yeah, these tidbits are thrown out, and you've got to connect the dots, which I like doing.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I'm a nerd. I'm into this whole theorist stuff. And
sorry.
It's fine.
I mean, you could yell that at me because I am like that with BioShock. So.
True. But yeah, it's a case of things just like connecting the dots, figuring things out. The information's there. You just have to pay attention and use your brains.
Yeah.
Like one thing, there are things like we get from supplemental materials, like After the Fall, which I've used a lot. I realize.
Yeah.
But it's one thing that's given us a lot of information on timeline that isn't contradicted by the show, and in fact supports the information I put together beforehand, because I put a lot of this together before we got the book, and this just helped clear a few more things up.
Yeah.
Pardon me. And yeah, like apparently the fall of Beacon, like everything from Penny dying to Ruby and Weiss running to the tower.
Yeah.
To try and help Pyrrha. That's an hour.
Oh, yikes, yeah.
All of that happened in an hour.
Goodness me, RWBY Volume 3 was just an episode of 24, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like literally, like the first few chapters, like everything up to chapter 6 is like it's like 3 days.
Yeah.
Then we get another day into the end of chapter 8. And then from the end of chapter 8 up to Ruby's eyes going off.
Yeah.
Is just about an hour.
Yeah, like that seems about right with how the invasion went about. Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot was going on, and that gives a lot of context for how run ragged these kids were. They had a lot to do in a very little amount of time.
Oh yeah.
Like there wasn't a lot of time to process what was going on.
Yeah. Sniffles.
Yeah.
You alright there, kitty? Yeah, he's fine.
Yes. Yeah, so it's again, like I do get why people are making assumptions or assuming that what the information they're told is correct, but like we do have the information, and I do want to get that information sort of up there.
Yeah.
Really.
I think when it comes to these things, like, unless the crew behind RWBY actually know it for a fact, they'll probably just estimate and then have something a bit headcanony. Like, in Lindsay's case, it's like, oh, RWBY's 17, but, like, technically she isn't, but she is coming up to 17. Yeah. So, like, you could excuse that, and it's not exactly obvious within the show.
Like, yeah, like, people are making assumptions. People aren't doing what I'm doing.
Which is nitpicking.
Nitpicking, yeah. I'm combing through all the details. I'm looking for any sign of timeline reference and putting it all together and making reasonable assumptions as to the gaps.
Yeah. Which is always fun.
Always fun, yeah. Like,
we're just a bunch of nerds.
We are. Yeah, the funny thing about this is because we know that the Black trailer, the Blake character short flashback, and Cinder's flashback, like fight with Amber, all happen like within the same couple of days.
Yeah.
That means that Cinder like either grew her hair out very fast after gaining the full maiden power, or she was wearing extensions in the first couple of volumes.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, like she does kind of just go back to the same short hairstyle afterwards. So was she just wearing extensions the entire time?
It's either that, or where have we placed the Blake trailer in comparison to?
I mean, the problem is it's kind of difficult.
Yeah.
Because the Black trailer is in the Forever Fall Forest.
Yeah.
So it's always red there, but we do see, obviously at the same time, we see where Amber is, and Emerald and Mercury are fighting Amber, and it's like there's storm clouds, but the trees are all green. So
yeah.
I want to say like sort of springtime, like, you know, before, like, I remember this is Blake running away, and then at some point after this she enrolls at Beacon.
Yeah.
Like she takes the exam, so it can't be that long before the school year starts.
Yeah.
So springtime makes sense.
And we know Cinder meets up with Adam at some point after the fact. Is it, or before the fact?
Like we know she meets, so he meets up, she has this meeting with him the day before the train incident.
Right, yeah, okay.
And then the fight with Amber happens, and then she comes in right afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, because he's still ranting at like he's still pissed that Blake left, but he's obviously trying to save face with like his men there.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, I've got to go back to talk to Sienna. He doesn't name her by name, but it's like he has to go back to Mistral.
Yeah. I was thinking about.
So he still had to
yeah.
report in at that time. So
yeah, I think in the case of Cinder's hair, it can probably be excused because in Volume 1 they would have just had her one model, so that's probably just a continuity error.
Yeah,
but I think
and then by the next she shows up at the end of Volume 1, it has been a few months again. So
yeah, so I think by that point and Volume 2, it would be reasonable if her hair got longer from that length.
Yeah.
I think also it might just be a case that, I don't know, Maiden Power has been, I've got magic, I can do whatever I want.
I mean, yeah, it could just be magic. We know magic does cover shapeshifting.
Yeah. And we do know that from the world of Remnant, what Cinder's semblance is, so who knows, maybe most of her hair at that point is glass.
I mean, it could be, yeah. Yeah.
She just turns up and her neck's covered in cuts, and it's just like, ignore that.
Yeah.
She got a haircut.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's just funny, like, tracking, like, the logical sort of leaps you have to make, like I made earlier with Neo at Haven. Like, because she had to have been there with them as their fourth student, as their fourth team member.
Yeah.
Which is also, like, the in-universe reason why she wasn't there in Volume 1.
Yeah.
Like, the out-of-universe reason is she didn't exist yet, but, like, that's our in-universe reason that she wasn't there.
Yeah, and it would also explain why Neo, as well, isn't present with Roman when the whole thing goes down at the beginning of Volume 1, because she would have been with everyone else establishing a cover.
Yeah. Like we know Cinder's there, and presumably she's the one who killed all Junior's men after the plan failed.
Yeah.
Like, and she had to bail Roman out.
Yeah. But we also, Cinder can probably get to and fro a bit more easily. Because even with
she had one of the bullheads. So.
Yeah, and even with half her maiden powers, she still has maiden powers, so who knows? She was probably pulling a Cinderella and just sneaking out for the night.
Yeah, like, we know it's before the semester starts, so it could be she'd sent them on ahead.
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
And she was going to meet up with them after making sure Roman was doing his job properly.
Yeah.
So that's probably what that was.
Yeah. Can we have a flashback of them, like, starting to go undercover? Like, I can imagine there probably would be in terms of...
You're cutting out a bit.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm saying...
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there would be a flashback to show them starting their cover, in Haven. Because I think that would probably be likely with Emerald in terms of, like, getting a perspective from her. Because she seems to be leaning towards something. So maybe we could get more information from that kind of flashback regarding that.
Yeah. No, sorry. Everything like was in and out. I think I caught some of that.
Why?
Connections are going weird.
Is my connection
It's just dropped to 2 bars, so I think it's partly my connection.
Yeah, I don't know. My connection's saying it's good, but you know what? Who knows?
Who knows? Oh, you're fine now.
Yeah, hang on. VPN. Right, can you still hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I've just turned off and on my VPN again, just to see if that might have been it as well. Don't trust the VPN now.
No.
But, yeah, where were we?
Yeah, I think sort of seeing Haven like flashback to when they were there.
I was saying
Emerald's perspective.
Yeah, I was saying like either Emerald or Cinder could provide a perspective flashback in terms of that. So if we got a flashback establishing when they went to Haven to start their cover, that would probably be handy.
Yeah. Be interesting to see. Like even. Or if it like seeing it from Neo's perspective might also be interesting.
Oh yeah, that would also be good.
Because we know, like she was there, she was effectively blackmailed to be there.
Yeah.
Like they were using Roman to keep her from misbehaving.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, like, and we know she's still out for Cinder's blood for that because one thing pretty much establishes she's not going to stop.
Yeah.
Like Cinder thinks she's redirected her at RWBY, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the case.
Yeah, I highly doubt that.
Yeah.
Like, I think on the one hand, sure, Neo will probably have a grudge against RWBY, but on the other hand, it's the first person she goes after is Cinder.
Yeah, like, if she really did have a grudge on RWBY, she would have gone for her first, because she's an easy target.
Yeah, she would have gone, where's this girl? She wouldn't have gone, where's this bitch?
Yeah, like, Cinder knows how to track.
Yeah.
Like, knows how to avoid detection. Like, the only reason Neo caught up with her is because Miss Malachite figured someone would probably be after her, because she recognized her.
Yeah.
Like, RWBY, not going to be hard to track. She's going to leave a trail.
Yeah.
Because she's not actively avoiding being found.
Yeah. Right, so where are we in terms of the timeline now, then?
Right, so, yeah, just as a conclusion, in terms of timeline, it's been a few weeks since the end of Volume 5, and therefore, I want to say we're about a year after the end of Volume 2.
Yeah. Ish.
Like, I feel like that's reasonable. Like, we're in the sort of time frame where Grim Eclipse was happening.
Yeah.
Like, between Volumes 2 and 3, we're a year after that.
Yeah, so we would be just coming up to the anniversary of the fall of Beacon, basically.
Yeah, we're a couple months out. Like, we're a month or two out, let's say.
Yeah. Okie dokie then.